What's going on, guys? Today we are going through the best and worst tattoo TikToks I could find. So let's jump into it. Okay, this first one.
The tattoo stamp, it has how many needles in it?
114. And then I go ahead and sterilize.
In case you're not sure what you're looking at, this is a tattoo stamp. It's a block with a ton of needles in there, and you just hammer it into the skin. Let's watch it.
The kitchen sponge so that I can blot the ink onto it properly. And then there it is, off exposing the...
That's a lot of needles. It truly is.
This right there.
Ugh, the slow-mo. Ooh, that's in the skin. That's in it. There we go. Now when he pulls it out, it's gonna be like suctioned to the skin. It's pretty disgusting. Yeah, there you go. There we have it. Okay, so I've actually done something like this, but a lot of times these needles, these dots look a lot thinner than what they actually are, and they grow. So like, even though it doesn't look like it's really in the skin here, trust me, over time, you'll see that all that ink kind of expands and it becomes very clear that it's a skull. No matter what, it's not a great experience to go through, but it's actually probably less painful than what you guys think. But let's watch it again in slow-mo. In the skin, dude. Okay, on to the next. Okay, I'm gonna try and not be angry Kirk today, but I did pick a bunch of TikToks that are gonna make me a little angry. So if it comes out that I'm a little angry, well, fuck it. Let's talk.
Are you ready to punch me yet?
Glad they said no after being tattooed for 4.5 hours. I have personally, secretly, maybe wanted to punch my tattoo
4.5 hours for this tattoo.
artist after so long because it, really hurt. These tattoos are just dots and then more dots and then even more dots. At first, it feels very gentle typically, but then the pain builds just over time. We can always take breaks and go at your pace. We were able to get this done in one session. I'm absolutely obsessed with the results. And here we are serving you.
First off, as a tattooer, you should never be going at their pace. You should be going at your pace, and that pace should be as fast as you can because the tattoo hurts. And skin at a certain point just gets kind of raw and beat up. So you wanna get in, get out. Okay, I think you guys know that this is not what I think tattoos should look like. I think that this is very experimental in all the worst kind of ways, using this like pink, white, yellow stuff to make a screw that's about fucking, I don't know, about that big. I just don't think it's very good tattooing. And I think you could have used that 4.5 hours 1,000,000 times better and made this whole thing like if you did a giant screw and it was like realistic or black and gray and you did some wild stuff, I'd be like, yeah, sick, cool tattoo. I wouldn't even think about it. I wouldn't even put it in a video. But when it's this type of stuff, I just kind of feel like over the last hundreds of years, people have been like, this works as a tattoo, this doesn't work as a tattoo. And with this much like appreciation for the past and with like this much research, you would be like, this is not a good tattoo. Now, a lot of times when I say this, people will be like, well, these people can do what they want. Absolutely. I don't give a fuck what dumb shit you get tattooed or who does dumb tattoos. I don't give a fuck about that. I could care less. At the same time, I will say in a video that I think that this is bad tattooing, and I think this gives permission for other tattooers to do dumb stuff like this. So yeah, not a good tattoo, and I feel bad that someone sat for 4 hours to get something like this. Okay, on to the next one. I genuinely like that song. I'm a goober. I'm a goober. Okay, this type of tattooing. You know, a lot of you guys know I'm gonna be like, I don't like this. But today, I don't care. Today, I've seen this enough times on TikTok that I just do not care. It's a line, the line is applied well, then they did these matching other things on the fingers. Hey, today I don't care. Especially in comparison to the last tattoo we saw that I was just like, that is fundamentally bad tattooing and should stay away from that type of tattooing. This is just whatever. A little cheesy, a little goofy, nothing else. Nothing else, I'm not gonna go crazy. On to the next.
At what point are we just gonna...
So that's Justin BUA. He does art critiques that I think are pretty valid. And in a lot of ways, he talks about the same exact subjects in the art world that I do in the tattoo world. And so I wanted to take a moment to hear what he has to say about this.
At what point are we just gonna say, like, not only is this not art, but the art world is sick. It has been poisoned with absolute ridiculous conceptual contemporary garbage. This is a poison. It's a sickness. It's a parasite. These people are getting grants, selling their work. They shouldn't. They should have no access to this kind of garbage. The art world is sick.
Okay, generally I don't have the same amount of gnarly thought. He just has a lot of disdain for this type of shit. And I get why, but I think that you could say the exact same thing for tattooing. But then at the end of this, remember that there's a client out there who has to walk around with that garbage. And they got sold the idea that this garbage is good when it's very clearly not most of the time. So it's an interesting thing, especially him talking about grants and things like this. Why is this considered art? And how can people at the top who are handing out money for this be like, this is what we need to hand money to? I don't know. It's just goofy. And a lot of times I feel like all of this is controlled by this phone. Everything that anyone is deciding is cool or not cool is decided by this fucking phone. And it drives me a little crazy because you walk by this, this pencil marks, and you go, that was a little kid who fucking drew on the wall. And there ain't nothing cool about it. But the moment you film it and you put some music behind it and you get some good angles and you're like, oh, cool, it's real art now, you've been duped. And that's how I feel when you see a bad shit ass tattoo where you're like, he filmed it really well and now you're sold on it, but you shouldn't be. On to the next. I needed a palette cleanser. Look at this, very nice, interesting. And dude, this took a real artist. Someone who sat there and was not only does this person have a strong understanding of what the history of tattooing is, especially Japanese in this case, but they were how can I use the tools that I have with the canvas that I have, which is the human body, with these historical figures and make something unique and fucking cool. And I just think, fucking rad, so cool, beautiful, no bullshit, strong tattooing. On to the next. Okay, so there's a few thoughts. One, he's a grown ass man, he can do whatever dumb shit he wants to do to his face. We're clear here. But as a tattooer, I never think that this type of stuff is good. You put something into your face and you make it white, chances are it's never gonna look good ever. And what's really interesting to me is that someone like this is doing it for TikTok or Instagram clout. And that is always kind of surprising to me. As someone who's gone viral on TikTok, it's not worth it. Don't tattoo your fucking face for Instagram or TikTok clout. It's not worth it. You're not gonna wake up with $1 million just because you got 1 million views on TikTok. And I know that most people do it for the attention, and I understand that, but don't do it. You're not gonna be able to build a career off of being that guy who tattooed your face that one time. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. You can't build a career off of fucking tattooing your face once. And we've seen people try it, and it works probably for a little bit, but you can't do it. So be careful if you're thinking, hey, I'm gonna tattoo my face to get a lot of views, because it ain't worth it. I wanted to take a moment to say thank you guys. We are well on our way to 50,000 subs. And if you guys don't mind liking and subscribing to the channel, the more people we get in our community, the less shitty tattoos are out in the world. So thank you so much. Okay, so this one kind of got clipped in a weird way. She is talking about woo-woo and spiritual stuff and how it's how it's white people stealing it from indigenous people. And someone wrote, this can apply to tattooing as well. And that part I want to confront. So in case you're wondering, why is she talking about woo-woo stuff? We're commenting on a comment, I guess. So yeah.
Is it woo-woo, or is it an indigenous practice from brown and black cultures that we co-opted, colonized, appropriated, and whitewashed to now make us quirky because we believe in something different when it was literally stripped from the indigenous people?
Okay, so everything, she can have her opinion about spirituality and woo-woo and all this, stealing it from black and brown people. When it comes to tattooing, that does not apply. Tattooing is far wider and far more broad than whatever cultural views you might have of the world. If you look back as far as you can, you'll find tattooing in 49, 50 different cultures. White, Asian, black, indigenous, whatever fucking words you want to throw in here. Tattooing is the people's art. It's made for everybody. It's not just one person or one culture. And if you even look back at the oldest remains of any human we've discovered, that person was from like Italy, which if you want to consider those not white people, go for it, whatever. It doesn't really even matter when you go as far back as that. But they had tattoos. So when I hear people talking about like tattoos being this person's culture or this person's culture, it's not. It's everyone. And that's really all I have to say about that, because it drives me nuts when I do hear stuff like that, being like, oh, this is someone else's culture and you stole it. And it's like, nah. So on to the next.
No, like on God, people will be like it's obviously summer. Like, where'd you get your work done? Because I've got like my head tatted, and I'm just like, shut up. Like, your ink is sink, brother. I'm like, thanks for the compliment, but I'm just like, bro, I don't give a shit about these dumb things anymore. I was like, I don't care. I got them when I was like 25 and 26, and like, I got most of my shit from like 25 to 27, and now I'm just like, I don't care. Tattoos are stupid. I don't care.
I love that. I'll end it right there. For a lot of people who have a lot of tattoos, at a certain point, we kind of get there. You're like, they're just tattoos. They're not that big of a deal. And so when someone like walks by and they're like, sick tats, you're like, well, thanks. Yeah, I hate most of them, or I hate some of them. It's not that big of a deal. For him, I think it's kind of interesting because he's got this like patchwork look going on. So his tattoos, even though they look older, are very trendy. So it must be extra difficult for him because like, one, his tattoos don't look great. And two, they look trendy. So like every young kid is probably like, sick tats, bro. And you're just probably like not the guy you want to be talking to about how cool his tats are, especially when he thinks they look like shit. But yeah, interesting take. Like, he doesn't look much older than 26 or 27 anyway. So it's funny that he has that opinion like super quick. On to the next. Okay. I want to start conversation between tattoo artist and clients. And the question is, what do you value most? Okay. As a client, if I'm tattooing you and you ask me something super deep, like what do I value most? I'm gonna blow it off. And as a tattooer, I would never ask someone something so deep because I don't know that that person is ready or wants to talk about that or like is capable of talking about something like that. And like, sometimes I feel like questions like that pressure people into having something to say about something deep and important and whatever, when realistically, they are just my client. I am just tattooing them. They do not need to fucking come up with some bullshit thing about like the deepest thoughts they have. And I know that to you, you could be like, well, you just asked, what do you value most? It's not that deep of a question. But like, to some people, that could be a very sensitive subject or just like a really deep subject. So personally, as like a businessman and as a salesman of tattoos, I ain't fucking touching that question. And if a client ever asks me a question like that, I am gonna dodge that thing as fast as I can, because no, we ain't talking about that. I don't wanna be that open with you, and you shouldn't wanna be that open with me, a perfectly strange stranger, you know? But you know, hey, if that works for him, like, good for you. But yeah, we are not therapists. No matter how therapeutic the situation can feel, we're not. We're not licensed. We shouldn't be talking about certain subjects, and we should be cautious because we're putting people in sensitive situations. They're feeling a lot of pain. And for someone to be like asking deep questions like that is not only questionable behavior, but it also could be like misconstrued as manipulative. So like, be cautious out there, tatters and clients. On to the next.
Let me make this clear. I've been tattooing longer than some of you guys, and I'm the same age as your kids, okay? I'm booked out in 2 different countries and 5 different states.
Wait, let's restart that.
Let me make this clear. I've been tattooing longer than some of you guys, and I'm the same age as your kids, okay?
Okay, so I guess what he's saying is he's been tattooing a long time, and yeah, I guess that's a weird way to phrase that. But also, he's like, I'm younger and I deserve more respect than you old dogs. Okay, that's an interesting way to start a video.
I'm booked out in 2 different countries and 5 different states every single month from now. And I could tell that some of you guys are struggling to book appointments in your own city. If you want to change that, you need to let me know.
Okay, 2 things. First off, let me put on my game face. Okay, one, if you're a traveling tattooer, sometimes it's easier to be a traveling tattooer than it is to be working in a tattoo shop in your hometown or state or whatever. The reason is, if you have a following on Instagram or on the internet in any way, most of those people don't live in your vicinity. So you have to go see them. And so sometimes being booked out in like different cities ain't that big of a deal. I could pretty much book out whatever city I want currently. But if I went to go live there, I would get tapped out. I would tattoo all the people that follow me on the Instagram, and then within a month, I'd have to start tattooing local people and getting them in the door. So for someone to be like, I could travel all these different places and be booked out, it really just says they have some sort of Instagram or some sort of YouTube or whatever kind of following. It does not mean that they're so amazing that they're better than everyone else in the area. It doesn't. So also a weird statement.
I could tell that some of you guys are struggling to book appointments in your own city. If you want to change that, you need to let me know in the comment section or just shoot me a
Okay, now that's not the most flagrant type of, ad thing. I've seen a lot of motivational tat guys coming out, and I'm always like, bro, tattooers acting like they're billionaire fucking salesmen. Dude, no, you're not. You ain't. We sell tattoos. For a tattooer to become a billionaire as a tattooer, they'd have to be born into it. It does not add up. The amount of money that you would have to charge for fucking tattoos, I don't know. I just I see a lot of cheeseball-y tattoo commentary things, like coaching things. And I'm not saying anything about this guy. A few of the things he said were kind of not true fully. And some of the other things he said were kind of just like dorky. And I haven't done enough research on this guy to know if he exactly fits the criteria I'm talking about. But there's a lot of tattooers out there who are doing this salesman machismo bullshit. And I'm always just like, bruh, go fuck yourself. We don't need your cheeseball-y tattoo selling tactics. It's corny as fuck. And it's also not true. And a lot of times people say numbers like, oh, I made this amount of money in this amount of time. And you're like, bro, anyone could say anything. I made $14 million in the last 4 days. If you want my help to become a more booked out tattooer, then contact me in the DMs. Let's go. See how easy it is? Anyone can say anything. The internet's fucking stupid. On to the next. Wow, that's a blackout. That is a lot of blackout tatting. Cool. I needed something. I needed something that gets my little heart going, and that is this. Very beautiful. Johnny Ransom tattoo, good on ya, very black, very nice. On to the next. I am not touching the words that she got tattooed. I have zero interest in getting into that discussion here today. But what I will say is that is a fucking blown out tattoo. Old people's skin. That's what happens. That's what you gotta look out for. The older you get, especially in these areas, it happens all the time.
It's messed up, but my skin is gross. But go ahead.
Oh, okay. How did it mess up?
Because I'm old and I have no fat here. It's just...
At least she knows. A lot of times people are like, why did this happen? And then you have to sit them down and you're like, cause you're old. And you're like, fuck, I'm a dick. But that's honestly what happens a lot of times, especially if you're getting tattooed later on in life. I love it. Thank you guys for being here. I hope you learned some things or didn't learn some things. I don't care. Let's have fun next week. I'll see you in a few days.